Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, just a couple of days ago, we had mid 80-degree weather, and I don't know if you can see this. There's a little bit of glaze of ice. Obviously, not the whole creek, but we've gone back to having a little glaze of ice on the creek in the 20s the last couple of nights. But today we're supposed to start warming up, and then over the next couple of days we'll be back up in the 60s and 70s. It's crazy roller coaster weather. I've heard so many people in the last few days already talk about how they got the hacky coughs and the snotty noses and stuff. And it's not that surprising, but it's the Ozarks, and that's what you just have to live with around here. Moving on to things that you probably actually care about, not the weather where I live. Do you have a preparedness plan for the election this year? We talk, you talk about things all the time when it comes to prepping and what you're preparing for, Oh, the Chi-Coms are gonna, parachute in the backyard of the school and we're gonna have to fight them off. Or, grid failure, cyber attack, the asteroid that strikes. Do we have a preparedness plan for the election this year? I personally, and this isn't a knock to anyone that's different, or I'm just not a big politics guy. Really not anymore. Used to be years ago, but, to me it's all just a rigged game anyways. But that doesn't mean that people don't react to it. That doesn't mean that there's not something going on there. And we're getting much closer into politics season, especially where it's become more obvious. I mean, I think everyone knew this from the beginning, that Trump's going to be the one that's, the Republican candidate. And at least for now, Biden is the Democrat candidate. I guess yesterday or the day before, he did a physical fitness test and passed his physical fitness, that they say he's strong and ready to go. Of course, they did not do any kind of cognizant type test of his brain functions, what little's left there. They didn't do any of that kind of stuff, but they tested him physically and they said he's ready to go. And then yesterday he was talking and made some statement that, in his next term, he's going to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. So for now, it seems as if he is going to, be on the ticket and running. But a lot could change between now and then. But things are moving that direction, and I don't want to necessarily focus on the politics of it. I probably could guess where most of you lie that watch this channel when it comes to your political affiliations or who you're planning on voting for. That's not the issue. The issue is that the more and more it becomes apparent that Trump is the front runner. I think they're saying now he's leading over Biden in 7 swing states. And so when we see that kind of stuff happen, my opinion is that there's much greater chance of some kind of funky, weird stuff happening at the election or leading up to the election, some type of event that would, alter things. I don't know. I mean, I have to be careful. It's YouTube, so I can't just bluntly say what, you and I are both thinking, but we're thinking along the same lines. I know that. So the point is are we preparing for that? All the things that go on, that when they happen, we're always like, well, is this the thing that's gonna tip us over the edge? How many of you are thinking that these things are gonna happen because of the election? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, there's always war stuff building. I think just in the last day or so, Vladimir Putin said that Russia believes that NATO is planning on attacking Russia. And then China said yesterday or so that the United States is weaponizing space, that they're putting weapons in space. And who knows? So there's all these things going on. Both Trump and Biden are visiting the border today. I'm sure not at the same place, but they're meeting there. And then, of course, there's just the border issue that we've talked about extensively. All of these things and much more could definitely have some kind of play when it comes to the election. And I think most of us realize that there's virtually no chance at this point of the election going, through smoothly and normally and honorably and honestly and all that kind of stuff. There's going to be shenanigans one way or the other, and it could be quite significant, all the way up to potentially some kind of collapse, breakdown, attack just before the election happens, so martial law could be declared. I mean, I know that sounds extreme, suspend the election. There could be something happen during the elective process, and then it could be something similar that happened last time, to where it's just manipulated and a different outcome. Any of those things that could happen could lead to major disruption. Even the other thing, here's the thing. If Biden wins this election, let's just play that scenario out. Biden wins the election. There's going to be a lot of people know that it was rigged. A lot of people know that it was rigged on the conservative side, and it could cause major disruption, breakdowns, rebellion, all that kind of stuff. If Trump wins, do you realize how the left's going to lose their minds? Do you realize the level of rioting? I mean, it's probably going to make the Summer of Love BLM stuff look like nothing. So I hate to sound doomsday. It's not what I'm trying to get across. I'm not trying to spread fear and all that kind of stuff. But I really don't see any scenario, regardless of whether the election is somehow suspended and doesn't happen, or they do some kind of shenanigans and Biden wins, or by some miracle or whatever, Trump takes the office of presidency back. I don't see any scenario where things are just going to be smooth, that there's no chances of major rioting or disruptions. I mean, there's always, well, at least there has been the last few elections, that there's always been people that are ticked off and disruptive. But I'm talking massive. I'm talking to the point that it's national emergency at the very least. I don't see any scenario where nothing happens, where everything's smooth. And the possibility of things happening between now and then, of course, are great. There's a lot of scenarios. There's a lot of things that are in play right now that could easily, World War III, Russia, Middle East, China, illegals hitting the tipping point, solar things, some kind of EMP from China. There's all these things that could happen between now and then. But the point is that once we get to that place, or if we get close to that place of the election, I think we're going to see probably the most disruptive time in American history. And before and after, regardless of what happens. And we really, really need to be preparing for that. If you're new to prepping, if you're new to all of this, you've got a few months at best, and don't think, well, I've got to the 1st of November to get ready. No, because there's a good chance things are going to start happening really crazy beforehand. Maybe not, but there's a pretty good chance of it. So, but at least you have a little bit of time. If you have a little bit of time, we should at least, at the very minimal, we should at least be expecting disruptions in supply chains. If there's major widespread rioting, you're going to have supply chain disruptions. There could be grid attacks. There could just be grid failures for various reasons, communications going down, violence, rapid increase in violence. All of these things are very possible. And I know that some of you are thinking, man, you're talking about this and that's months away. We're still in the winter. It's February. That's in November. We're at the first of the year. That's at the end of the year. Right, we're talking about it because you still have some time, if you're just getting started, to get prepared for this. It'd be foolish to start talking about this a couple of weeks before the election, right? So, and I get it. I know a lot of you are going to say, yeah, we'll probably not make it to the election. I don't disagree with that. I'm not saying that that's for certain going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't even make it to the election before something big, really big pops off. The point is, though, that you need to be preparing for this. You need to be actively stocking up. Let's play out the scenario that something happens in and around the election time, not, weeks or months beforehand. You're talking the beginning of winter. So you're going to need to at least, winter, cold, you know how it is. You need to have at least a 3 to 6 month food supply by November. by the election time. I mean, you should have that right now. But if you don't, you need to work towards a 3 to 6 month food supply. I've worked it out before. A family of 4 can purchase the basics to just get by, just to keep you going, rice, beans, oatmeal, soup, salt, seasonings, a little cooking oil, some canned tuna, things like that, for around $200 a month if you really shop around. I know prices keep going up, but for around $250 a month, you can buy a family of 4 enough food to keep them alive for 30 days. And you should try to do that at least 6 times over between now and November. You should have some water put away. You need to have at minimum, and I mean this is minimum, 15 to 20 gallons of water per person in your home stored. You need to have water filtration. You need to try to have an alternative water source, not just the water coming through your pipes that you're purchasing from your local city government or something. You need to have another water source and a way to purify that water. Medical stuff, you need to have that squared away. You need to have a plan to defend yourself, to defend your home, to lock things down. Depending on where you're located and how bad it gets, you may have to kind of lock yourself down in your house for a few weeks. Think of what happened during the BLM riots. What if you were living in the middle of that and it was substantially worse than what we saw back then? That may happen. So you need to have multiple plans, evacuation plans, bug out plans, meaning that you're going to a specific location. Or if you're fortunate enough, just move out of that area and find an area where you have a lot less people around. You don't have to worry about that. These are all things that could very likely, I think a very high likelihood of possibility of these things happening. And you need to start getting ready because, while, yes, I get it, it's still months away, that means that you have at least months to plan, months to get ready for it. Because I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not trying to be spreading fear or anything like that. I'm just telling you that I just don't see, if we even make it to the election, if we even make it to November, I cannot see any scenario where it could go along smoothly and not be some kind of nightmarish craziness that could happen. So we need to get ready for that. And you have a little bit of time. And that's why I'm making this video, several months in advance, because I'm trying to encourage you to get motivated and to start stocking up, prepping up for it. And I know most of you already are, but there's definitely some out there that's not. And for the ones that are prepared, you need to examine that, go over it, figure out if there's any, things that you've missed, because you have some time and you need to do it. And I'm telling you, it's not going to go by smoothly. I mean, if we have an election, there's just and especially if it's between Biden and Trump, I just can't see this being a normal, smooth election. I don't see any possibilities of that. So you need to be getting ready, folks. Get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.